Are Canadian unions acting far beyond their original purpose? In my opinion, that's improving pay, benefits, and working conditions. Hi, thanks for joining me. I'm Melanie Bennett with the Canadian Culture Wars Report. In September 2023, just days before the Million March for Children, union leaders held an emergency Zoom call to organize and counter protests against parental inclusion in schools. Parents and citizens, many of whom had never joined a protest or any kind of organized action before, found their voices on that day for the very first time, speaking out against what they saw as far-left politicization of our schools with queer theory propaganda. So why are union executives so paranoid about ordinary citizens exercising their democratic right to peaceful protest? For anyone paying attention this past year, it's become rather obvious that union leadership has moved well beyond their mandate, leveraging their numbers and their influence to push their own favored far-left radicalism. Don't take my word for it, though. Listen to Peter Votsch from Peterborough District Labour Council explain his motivations in his own words.
Thank you, sisters and brothers and comrades. Peter Votsch from Peterborough Acutely Retirees Network and Peterborough District Labour Council. And thank you for organizing this meeting. And Emily, your comments were brilliant and hard to follow up on that. But we've taken your lead in many ways in Peterborough by building a network here. I'm with the Peterborough and Kawarthas United Against Hate. We are an anti-hate network that's done 8 defenses of drag queen story time. We've been under attack by Save Canada, by Kevin Goudreau, by organized Nazis with Confederate flags. So we have some experience and some knowledge in this also, like you do in Ottawa. And in many ways, you're our inspiration. So again, another thank you for that. We are meeting at 9 a.m. across from City Hall on September 20th. To oppose the bigots. We have a poster. It's already in the chat. We're going to be organized. Couple of lessons, and I just, everything's been said already, or will be said, I imagine. Labor Council is crucial. I happen to be on the Labor Council here in Peterborough as a retiree. Labor councils in Peterborough and Lindsay have taken the lead in this, and that's an important lesson. That goes back to the convoy. When we started in Lindsay, counter-picketing the convoy in 2022, we brought out Brother James Mulhern. A big shout-out to Lindsay Labour Council and also Dave Warda from Peterborough. We brought people out and we started that tradition of resistance. And we said to ourselves, Drag Queen Storytime taking place at our public library, staffed by our QP members, is not going to get shut down. It will not. And it has not. In fact, they've increased the bookings. That's been their goal, to shut it down. We've said, no way is that going to happen. And we have been prepared for every single one. Now, I just want to make one big ask here of everybody. And Emily, you've hinted at it, and so has Rob. We need a network. We need first a province-wide network and a national network. I think we can start, and maybe the OFL can initiate this, but a lot of us are already ready. We're organizing on the ground. We're organizing labor in the LGBTQ plus communities. We're organizing. I'm going to a climate protest. I'll be making an announcement. I'll be talking about public health care, because if you look at the program of the Ontario Party and the New Blue Party, they want credit card health care. They want chartered schools or what they call it, choice in education. We all know what that means, right? We can see the other attacks. It's all of us under attack. And I live in a rural area, so I get this stuff and I can see it. So let's work on more frequent coming together like this and forming a network and exchanging the information. I have a lot to learn from Emily. I'm going to go right to the chat now, because you guys are fantastic, and we want to build it here in Peterborough, because this is not going to stop. And we need to build an anti-fascist movement in this province, in this country. And I'm just going to use our slogan. In Peterborough, we say, there will be resistance. And on Wednesday, there will be. Thank you.
According to Peter, Labour councils in Peterborough and Lindsay are taking the lead in this. organizing against the public. What the absolute heck do labor relations have anything to do with these million marches or parents deciding to have their voices heard? Some of the groups he named were Save Canada, some guy named Kevin Boudreau, organized Nazis with Confederate flags in the trucker convoy. As someone who is involved in the million marches, this all seems very paranoid. None of these people had anything to do with the million marches. Well, except maybe for the convoy. There were a few convoy people. The point is, this was no singular organized group. This was just ordinary citizens gathering and having their voices heard. For the most part, these weren't even people part of any organizations of any kind. Peter mentioned that he uses his own and other labor union resources on a regular basis in an attempt to eliminate his political opposition. I don't know about you, but that seems pretty sinister to me. If this sounds like an us versus them narrative, that's because it is. Peter seems to think that anyone who isn't part of the us, meaning radical socialists, must be one of them, the far-right fascists. This way of thinking leaves absolutely no room for nuance or distinction between different groups or individuals. It's a lot like the Borg from Star Trek Next Generation. The Borg, or in this case, Union Socialists, are all about the collective identity. They think as one, they believe as one, they act as one. That's essentially what solidarity means to them, acting as a unified entity. So as a result, they perceive their opponents as a collective, moving and thinking in a single unit. But this couldn't be farther from reality. The parents who marched on September 20th last year, 2023, weren't driven by any specific political, religious, or ethnic identity. They were simply advocating for educational reform, asking the state to recognize and respect the role of parents and families in safeguarding their children on their own terms, and calling for a review of the so-called trans-affirmative model. The slogan, "Leave the kids alone," isn't about pushing any kind of specific political ideology. It's a response to the ideological overreach. There's a big difference. Okay, so that's it from me. If you found this useful, I'd really like you to share these videos with just about anybody that you can. And if you haven't already, please consider liking and subscribing. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.